Session, I'm going to teach you how to make a scroll background, and also with these grasses in the front and the background, using technique called scrolling, which is if I go there, the background moves with me. Okay, so I don't have to create multiple, backgrounds. I have two of them, and I change the position of that. So I have unlimited backgrounds. So I can just go forever to left or right, and I only have these two backgrounds that always are behind the player. And also the grasses as well, which for this I changed the height, but I didn't for this, so they are always on the bottom. And also I showed other easier technique that you can use the background. And I also teach you how to make that seamless background inside the Photoshop. Okay. Generally, there are different ways to add a background to your game. For example, you can make a picture and set it as your background. It's not moving. Yes, your character moves, but also the background moves with that. Another approach is that you make a background that has kind of a parallax effect that, for example, your player is moving and it also moves with different speed might be. Or maybe you add some different elements of the background and you put them all in the sequel, and so when the player moves, they move with different speed. You can go to leonardo.ai and just say create 2D nature background for game. And it gives you different style, but this time it gives me this, for example. Because it is not the main approach that I'm going to use for this game, so I will not cover that a lot, so I just quickly say that. Yes, you can bring it into your Photoshop and try to remake them and change something about it. But imagine that we have this. In the project, I make a folder for, I say, props. It means anything that is not about character or any other things, okay? And I make a folder PG and drag and drop my picture there. And also I bring it here. The background is not good for this. This has different resolution. I know, that's why I told you to go to Photoshop and correct it. But I just, as I want to tell it very quickly, so don't really mind about that. So imagine that it is your picture. If I don't make the background to move with the character, let's see what happens. You go here and then it is finished. So you want to make the picture moves with the character. So here I say BG and I go to script. Do you remember that we had this for the camera, which we didn't use because if we are using Cine Machine, I can give the exact um, same code for that, except that I don't need the offset. So I just comment it and use this one. It means that the background is moving with the, for example, whatever the player X is, whatever the player Y is, it makes its own X and Y according to the position of the player. It's X and Y, okay? But the Z is the same. So I just give that code to the background, but it should not be in the late updates. Um, it's better that you put it in the update. So do something like this. And we don't need these values, but let's skip that. Maybe later you use this thing. So go here and drag and drop your background, and it just wants you a player. So go to the player and do this, and the layer, it should be background. But as I have this as background, it doesn't show. So I make a sort in layer 1. Um, it is a kind of weird movement. So I think that it's better that we keep the X move, but the Y doesn't move because it really gives headache. But it's your own choice. And also, something like this. Maybe you like, oh, bye. Let me again. Something like this, which I myself doesn't like this approach. Yes, you have to make it kind of change these values. Ah, because these values are not applied to this. Okay. So let me use the lerp. Is this one. I think that's better because I can customize, the offsets. So I have this. Okay, the offset would be like this. So you see we have something like this. No, still not good. You know, for example, we have this picture here and this. It has to be seamless, I tell you later. But imagine that this is seamless and this is kind of connected to that. We have two picture of the same one, okay? The player moves, but it doesn't move. So for example, it moves from this green tree, it goes here, and they are out of the camera, and then it goes here, but they don't move. So it makes a sense, make a feeling that the character is moving in an endless, environment. Okay, they're stable, but the character moves in an endless road, and each part of the scene is shown responding to the player position. So, for example, you don't always see this tree. You only see this tree if you go here and reach that. But in the previous approach, you always have the tree because the tree was moving with you. But you cannot just copy and paste these pictures behind each other because that is not performantly, they're not performance. But as the pictures like tiles, did you remember that I told you that tiles should be seamless? So your background should be seamless. Otherwise, I cannot do that because there is a code. Let me get out of here, remove the codes, and let's see what happens. Oh, I think it's. Do you see that you go there? We want to have something like this that we go, the background is not moving, but I move. And when reach here, the same thing would be repeated from at first, like this that it is started. But right now, it's not natural because it's like been cut through. That's why we have to select a seamless background. So open your Photoshop. So how big should our background be? For example, our canvas, we want that to be this size, or game is this ratio and size. But on different phones, there, for example, maybe some auto parts are also inside this canvas. So always make sure that you make the background a little bit more than the canvas size. Okay, a little bit more than that. It's always good that you have something more rather than less. Okay. Before we go to do our art, just check the Leonardo.ai, and I just added that it must be seamless. In the previous versions, it didn't do well. But as I check this now, I see that, okay, um, I think that they are quite good. But I don't think that this worked because the color here doesn't match the color here. This is not seamless, but I think that this is seamless. So let's check it in the Photoshop. So I brought that picture in the Photoshop, and I duplicated that, and I tried to put it here. Oh, it was up. Let me delete that. Okay, duplicate it and move it here. I think it's kinda seamless, yes. The leaves. You can correct it if you want. For example, some pixels might be off. But I think that generally, for example, this leaf, you see that? It perfectly did its job. In my opinion, it is seamless. So, but here, there are some problems which you can manually fix that. For example, here, make the tip of the leaf. Okay? But, or this, just one pixel can make it look bad. So I think that the AI also still needs to be progressed. But for now, I think that this is not ready, so we have to go and make our own art. But if you can fix that, that's fine. You can use this. Imagine that we want to have a mountain in the background. Okay, so first the chunks, or the squares. First, second, third, fourth. I just wanted that to start from the fifth one. Okay, it's important that I start from here and end exactly in the fifth square. But in the middle of that, it's not important. I can make anything as I want. Something like that. A picture of a mountain and smaller, bigger. Hmm. Be careful at this part because we have to do this. Okay. So the end at the to make it seamless, we have to do that. But this part is not important because we're going to add other elements here. But if you'd like to make it really sharp, I think that's okay. I can use this tool and make it like that. For the color, I think that is better that I use this color. But don't add clouds because it's be very unnatural that clouds just stay in one place. If you want to make clouds, I'll tell you later. Just we can add a stars. You can, for example, you make it a night scene, and you can add the stars. That's fine, but don't add things that would naturally move. For example, don't add birds, because in the game they just birds would stay here, which is not logical. Okay, just add static things. To edit and define brush set and make it 3. Okay, so let me control. So now you have a brush of that, so you don't need to make a tree from scratch. And go here, make it very small. Trees here have detail, they are brown, green, but as they go further, they just have a very dim color. For example, this, like a greenish. Imagine that we have these two backgrounds, okay? One is the middle, and for example, the left. And when a player goes here and they say, oh, there is no background, then this has to change its position to here, for example. Okay? Or player gets there, then it goes there. And when it gets there, the middle one should goes there. Or if the player is here, um, if the player is here, then the middle one should goes here. So we have a kind of continuous scrolling of the camera. So how to write the code? So let me call it one. This is one, this is two. And make a parent that is a scroll bg. And then I go to script and make a C# script and call scroll bg. And then I give the code to that. Let me say something. If you jump, you know, that is weird because the background Y position, if it stays still, then when my player Y position, which is by jumping, changes, then the background is just there. So I want that the Y position of the background be equal to Y position of the player or the camera, because camera and the player have the same height, you know. So I want to do that also. If you don't want to do that, you can make your background very, very big. That even covers the areas that the player might go. Um, Otherwise, you have to make the y-axis of the background to be equal to the player y. So when the player jumps, the background comes up as well. Let's delete them. Here, serialized field. First, I want the position of the main camera or the player. But it's better that you make the position of the camera. Okay, so let me move it here. Then I say, okay, the camera. Then I also give the position of the first background, which is this one. That is the main camera. That is that is the main background that is always behind the player. Okay, and also I want the position of that. Control D and just say second BG. Okay, now you have this. And you can use late update or you can use update. It's just your choice. So now I first change their Y value equal to the Y value of the camera. So they always have the same height. So when I jump, yes, the camera jump with the player. It has, for example, 5 on the Y. So they all have 5 on the Y axis. And the player goes down, for example, it's -5. They both have the -5. Okay, so the background is always behind the player and it wouldn't cause weird, these figures. So say first BG dot position equals to new vector 3. Okay, you can keep your transform the position. That's x. Okay, because we're going to change the x. But for the y, it has to be camera dot position. That's y. And for the z, yes, you can have your z, whatever that it is. Okay, so here I say, okay, that's this background has the same height of the camera or the player. Okay, but The X is something that we're going to change and make the scroll effect. And we don't use the Z. And I do this for the second BG as well. So Control D and just put them here. Yes, it has also this and this. So that's the first part of the code. If the player goes here and it is very, on the edge of the first background, which is here, we want to say, okay, if it's reached here, then we want to place the second one on the right. And if the player goes on the left of the first one, then we want to place the second one here. Okay, and we do this in the code. So let's do that. Now we say if camera that position that x is more than first bg that position that x, if it is more than that, it means that the player is going to move to right. Then we have to bring the second one on the back of the player. Then we say the second BG that position will be equal to new vector 3. Okay, get the first BG that position that x, and add that so that okay, this should come in this place, this position, but if we just say that, it would just overlap. Okay, it would just come here. We want that it comes here. So we have to add the length of the first background to that. Okay, so we have it here. We say, okay, have that position, but at this length, so it would be the length we give, we make it, okay, move here. I hope that it makes sense. Here in the code, we have serialized field, private, float, and you can say offset. Offset, and we will check that in the inspector because, for example, at first, give it 30 just for the test. Okay, say offset, and the others just like that. Select this. Okay, yes, have the same Y of the camera and also the Z of the first one. Okay, now if the camera that position that x is less than the first, that's exactly like that, but I write it again, so because it's when you're learning you have to write it, do not copy paste. Okay, so what it should do, it means that okay, this is here, the player now wants to move there. So we have to say, okay, have this position, but minus of the length of this. So it would come here. Okay, if it is here, then we say whatever the x is, and as to move it here, we say minus the offset that is this length. So I copy that and paste it and just say minus. All right. Now we have this. Let's go and check what happens. So this is the background 1, background 2, for now 30. And the camera, I give this one. This is better because if you give the main camera, it's kind of, um, shaking and it's not smooth when the player jumps. So it's better that you use that. Okay, let's test it. You see that the Y is changes like this. And there is a gap. So I have to decrease the offset so that it would match here. Minus 25. Yes, that's the number. Save it because if you go out of the game, it will reset. So something like that. You see that this background, and also I have to go there. So have this in mind. And then I go here, and you see that background that was the second one came here. Okay. Now, what would happen if let me go to the palette, platform. For example, have something like this, even more maybe. So go here and here, here. Now, okay, that was the first one and the second one. We don't have any more backgrounds. So should I say BG34? No. Now I want that the first background come here. So it kind of playing the role of the second one. Do you remember that we said, okay, if it is the first background, this has to change the position. But now this is kind of acting like the first one, and the first one has to come here or go there. So they kind of changed their role. So you go here and say if camera that position that X is more than not the first one, the second one, the second digit that position that's Y, or one of the condition, or camera that position that X is less than that, then swap the second and the first, and their role are just like this. But before I try to swap them, I have to kind of save the placements of the first one. So I said transform my first PG, temporary, as you know. And then I say first that position. This is transform, okay. I just have that. Okay, kind of save it for myself because if I swap them, then the variable is always changed. So I want to keep that here. So I say the first PG is equal to that. And the second one, can I say is equal to first PG? No, because now it has this value. So if I say first PG, I have changed the value. So it means seconds equal to second. It doesn't have any sense. So we have to say it here because I gave the value before I change it here. So I say it would be equal to that. That's why I created that variable. Right now it is something like this. This is on the right. I go there and there. As the background is seamless, it's kind of continuing. If it is not seamless, then you know where it is cut, and that would be ugly. And now I go and it just moves. Do you see that? The background is moving with me. So I don't need to uh, copy and paste the background here. I just use this technique, this scroll technique, and I have that. And also this is true for the left side. If I go there, the background just move here. But I don't want to make that. You can test it. This works. To make it even more beautiful, I want to create some grasses, here. So It would create more depth for my game. Move it here. Yes, we have a new layer. We don't need a new one. And draw some foliage. Bring it into your project and fix this and this. And you have to make something again like that. And for example, scroll grass. And first, um, you see it just came there. So I make a new layer. For example, say front. Not front of the UI, of course, here. So it is the background. The default is the player and also this. The front is for the grass and the UI is for these buttons. Okay. And go for the front. And no, this is, what is that? Wait. It could be something like that. You can change your grass as well. You can make them more alive. Uh, so let me make it a little bit darker, I guess. So I have this, Control D, and I bring it, for example, here, and I add the same code. This is the virtual camera, the first grass, the second grass, and also this for the offsets. If you want that the grasses do not change height, yes, for the X they work fine, but they're weird that they just come out. It's your choice. But if you want that they do not come up, then go to your code. You can, I don't want to make a new script. I just want to use that one. So I'm making a first grass and second grass. Oh, okay. I don't do that for this. I just make this for them as well. You can create, for example, this or here, or something like that. But I think that this is better. So I changed everything. First BG, now it is first grass, second grass, just first grass, offset. Now listen to this. So just say first grass instead of camera that position. Okay, and also correct this, first grass, and also this, second grass, first grass. I could have copied and pasted that, but okay, that's fine. And if the camera position that's second grass, or second grass, then my first grass is first grass, and grass, again grass, is equal to this. Okay? Where was, just bring your grasses here and delete it, and go here. Let me say grass 1, grass 2, 1, grass 2. So you have something like this. If you come up, you don't see them, but if you come down, you see them. So I think it makes more sense. So that's it for now.